Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Aw, this is great. Okay, so I'm assuming that's you in the background with your daughter, your wife. Is that you in the photo? It looks like Machu Picchu.
Yes, it's me and my wife.
Okay, very sweet.
That was and that was a few years ago. Our 49th anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, well, congratulations and respect.
So she's gone every place I've gone, except I had a gig in Uganda once where she didn't go. And I spent the whole time going, oh God, I wish Robin could see this. So we are pretty much joined at the hip.
So you were sent to Machu Picchu for work?
No, I was sent to Argentina for work, and my wife in another life would have been an archaeologist.
Nice.
So we swung by. I mean, Machu Picchu was just on the way home, so we swung by.
Amazing. So the photo is of you two seated on a large slab of rock. I've never been, so I don't know the territory, but basically you're in the foreground, both of you, beautifully looking at the photographer, looking like a sweet couple. And in the background, I mean, it's a dramatic shot in that it's a weird shot because the horizon seems tilted. It seems tilted a little bit, but you two seem on the right axis, in line with the main sort of mountain peak of Machu Picchu, and then there's all the ruins below. It looks like a slightly overcast day, slightly chill because you're wearing kind of warm clothes. A Minnesota spring, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's like okay. So why did you think of using this photo as the second image in this little hour-long journey?
Well, because my wife is an enormous part of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we met when we were 18. We got married when we were 20. We've been together, since 1973, married since 1975. She really is just the center of the universe. So now it would be impossible to pick out 4 photos to depict my life and not have her in one of them.
Well, you are the sweetie. This is great to meet you, Brent. I mean, this is amazing. Okay, so would you say that in your travels, this was a kind of an especially poetic, moving kind of event, or it's just like, what is it about the place? And the photo is super sweet. But what is it about, if you were to dive into the meaning of this, what is it about this particular image at this particular time that really resonates?
I don't know. I think because I was doing a story in Argentina where I got my camera stolen. So I was a little grumpy. And then we got to Peru and got to Cusco, it was the Inca capital, before the Spaniards came. And it's just a wonderful place. I mean, it's got one of these, when I travel, I love markets, and it has a fantastic market, and there's all these great buildings, and it's one of the few places I've been where it almost looks like the Spaniards never existed.
Okay. Gotcha.
So most of North and South America, the original culture was just swamped and overwhelmed and disappeared. And you get to Cusco, and it's like, no, this is the original culture is the culture that matters, that you see. And I really was kind of smitten by that idea. And Machu Picchu, they say this professor from Yale discovered it, but everyone who lived there knew it was there.
Of course.
So that I found sort of funny, and I like the shot.
It's a great shot.
I'd technically like the shot.
It's a great shot. Yeah. So when you get sent, okay, do you remember the story that you were sent to write?
It was there's an organization called the International Federation of Agricultural Journalists,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their convention in a different country every year. And this year it was in Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote several stories
Right.
while I was there. The one I kind of wrote was they took us out in the country, and you saw the gauchos, who are these incredibly proud people with this
Mm.
stunning history, and their life is disappearing because being a rancher and herding cattle is being replaced by soybean fields.
Right.
And so it was like seeing the end of a lifestyle that was very kind of bittersweet for me.
Yeah. So okay. So why don't you tie that back to your understanding of your part of the U.S. and the dwindling lifestyle of ranchers? Is that something? Is that a thing for you that you've seen, or not really?
It's a huge thing for me because one of the reasons I quit farming was it wasn't nearly as much fun anymore.
Ah.
It was becoming a bigger business, and there was a lot more chemicals and pesticides and things like that being involved, and it was something. It was a game I no longer wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now, we've got our farm, and I've got an orchard, and we've got chickens and ducks and raspberries and blueberries, and we raise a lot of our own food, and I make a lot of our. I've done all the remodeling and building in our house, and I've
Mm.
sort of invented the life I want to live, uh,
Nice.
which is a step. It's a step off kilter from the lives most of the people around me are living.
Yeah, for sure. In my professional life, right, I do business consulting and all this stuff. And so one of the things we talk about is about how with industrialization really pulled so many people out of the mud of poverty, right? So in a way, it's amazing. Like you make, millions of industrialized products or industrialization of agriculture, whatever it is. So you make, the products cheaper and more accessible and all this stuff. So in that sense, it's miraculous. But what we also say is that the service, one-to-one, person-to-person service, really is kind of, I don't know, is the foundation really is of civilization. So would you say, in terms of how, like, it sounds to me that you buckled against this idea of industrializing farming, your own farming, or your own farmed way of life or whatever. Now, again, I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but why don't you talk about that? So now I've introduced this idea into your head. Like, what do you think? How does that inform your desire to go, hey, you know what? This game, it's not for me anymore. I'm going to go be a writer of all the things.
I'm not saying it made sense. We've got to make sure we keep that in there all the time. I'm not saying any of my choices make sense. Well, I did. It just you hit the nail on the head. It was a game I no longer wanted or was willing to play,
Mm,
and I found an alternative path, and I could still live where I've spent my whole life living where I wanted to live and doing what I wanted to do. So I feel that makes me extraordinarily fortunate. I
mm-hmm,
mean, I haven't had an actual boss since 1976.
mm-hmm.
Uh, so that makes me lucky. And
You're,
but modern agriculture, it's true. The fact that it used to take 90% of the population to raise food, and now it takes 4%. You know, in a lot of ways, makes modern society possible.
yeah,
On the other hand, if I go into a grocery store, there's entire aisles that I don't even go down because I know there's nothing on in those aisles I'm willing to eat.
mm,
Some of this highly processed food and overly sugared and overly salted. It's just
Right.
it's stuff I won't put in my body anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's oh, okay. Here's an example. Huge portions of the United States is tied up in producing corn for ethanol.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I was on the board of a cooperative that built an ethanol plant 20 some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we started to build it, our motivation was that the octane enhancer in gasoline was MTBE,
Mm-hmm.
which is a carcinogen,
Yeah.
and it's persistent in groundwater. So we were going, wouldn't it be great if we could replace MTBE with ethanol, which
Mm-hmm.
is, natural? And we were right. But the problem is it worked too well. There was too much money in it. So all of a sudden, people were building ethanol plants all over, and it swamped the market to replace MTBE. And then they needed someplace to put the ethanol, so they said, "Well, we'll just run all the cars on it."
Mm-hmm.
So what started out as kind of a benevolent idea turned into a horrible idea.
Okay. Right. I love that our conversation went in that direction. I love that.
Okay.
No, because it's great. It's like I'm basically being schooled. Yeah, let's talk about, okay, so your experience and expertise in farming, also just because you know what it is to kind of work the land, and then you're also writing as a journalist journalism is about finding the horizon. Like where are things changing, right? Like what's happening here that's different, right? And reporting on it. So why don't you tell me something like your most recent story? What is a recent finding or recent thing that you noticed that should get some airtime? Like, for example, I didn't know about the ethanol thing. And what is it? MLTB?
MTBE.
MTBE. Okay. So what's the most recent finding that people need to know about?
Something I was talking about today is I don't understand why farmers in the United States are so angry. They really are. They really are. And a lot of them are kind of fervent Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just utterly baffling to me because, because if you own 200 acres of land and an acre of land, there's like 1.5 acres of land in a football pitch.
Yep.
So if you own 200 acres of land, you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
You're worth $1 million. And I bet I know 50 millionaires in my little part of the town. And of course, the way they dress and the way they act, they're indistinguishable from people who are in their last dime.
Yeah.
But they've lived fortunate lives. A lot of them, have houses in Arizona and travel abroad in the winter and things like that. But they seem really angry. Like the world is against them. And I can't understand that.
That's interesting. So as you're saying this, I'm looking at this photo of this beautiful couple who's smiling and doesn't seem angry at all in this incredible place of Machu Picchu. And let's move on to the next photo.
Okay.
So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting